debates at Hempstead, New York. Chris, good evening again.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Well, Democrats sweep the debates, 4 straight. Let's play hardball. Good evening, I'm Chris Matthews. Welcome to the midnight edition of Hardball. Live, as you can hear, from Hofstra University on Long Island, New York, the site of tonight's final presidential debate. John McCain started the evening talking about the anger of the American voter, but he wound up spending perhaps too much time registering his own anger, and that may have been his biggest mistake tonight in this concluding debate. It's early, but the snap polls taken right after the debate look a lot like the polls after the first 3 debates. A big win for the Democrat. In a CBS News poll of uncommitted voters, Obama was seen as the winner by 53%, while just 22% went for John McCain. That's a more than 2-to-1 margin tonight. 24% called it a draw. CNN polled debate watchers, and their results were similar. 58% for Obama, 31% for McCain. And in a group of 27 dial group debate watchers that MSNBC's Norah O'Donnell was monitoring out in Kansas City, Missouri, 20 people saw Obama as the winner, just 7 called it for McCain. I'm joined right now by 2 of the best in the business, Newsweek's Howard Fineman and Politico's Roger Simon. Roger, sometimes you are contrary, and I want to give you the full venting opportunity. Did John McCain do what he had to do, as we say in our parlance, or did he fail to do it tonight, according to, which it seems to be the reading of all these pollings tonight?
The polls got it right. He failed to do it. And he failed not because he was so nasty on any individual point, but he was so negative throughout the debate.
Okay.
You didn't come away with it with a positive feeling about John McCain, or that Barack Obama was this risky other that you couldn't possibly waste your vote on.
Did you get a sense that he's just frustrated, Howard? Every time he debates Barack Obama is this cool customer. No matter what he throws at him, he very calmly says, now let me answer that question, and he just takes it apart.
Yes, and he proceeds to take it apart like the constitutional lawyer that he was and is. McCain did a great job tonight stating a case for a debate that might have taken place 20 years ago. It seemed that he was arguing about the size of government and saying that Barack Obama was a big taxer and a big spender. There are a few problems with that. First of all, Obama's proposals aren't like that, number one. They're very carefully constructed not to be like that. Number 2, Obama as a person, personally, doesn't come off like a wild-eyed character. And number 3, the American people are tired of ideologues. And McCain came off as a very earnest and focused ideologue, and that's not what the American people seem to want.
Did he come across the way that Rahm Emanuel, one of the top Democratic leaders from Illinois, portrayed him tonight on Keith's show before the debate tonight? He said he's a grumpy old man in slippers. Is he that guy, the Mr. Wilson from the Dennis the Menace comics?
Get your newspaper off my lawn.
Is he Simpson?
His real problem tonight was the one Howard identified.
Homer Simpson?
That he's deep into this movement republicanism now, because he has to keep the base close to him, because that's the only people who are close to him. He's talking about, Barack Obama wants to spread the wealth.
It's
that's
like he wants
to save the life of the mother.
He was speaking to the readers of the National Review and not to the undecided
not to the most recent writers of the National Review who just came out again.
That's right.
But let's take a look at here. Here's a moment where I think John McCain scored an early innings home run in tonight's debate.
One of the things that I think we have to recognize is pursuing the same kinds of policies that we pursued over the last 8 years is not going to bring down the deficit. And frankly, Senator McCain voted for 4 out of 5 of President Bush's budgets.
Senator Obama, I am not President Bush. If you wanted to run against President Bush, you should have run 4 years ago. I'm going to give a new direction to this economy in this country.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
It was one of those moments. It was a good retort.
And a set piece.
A set piece by John McCain, but it doesn't really address the question of whether John McCain really isn't George Bush's third
as a matter of fact, I thought Obama scored very well in the comeback to that, because Obama eventually said, I'm sorry if I confuse you with George Bush. because your economic policies are exactly like George Bush's. That's the main point of the entire Obama campaign.
Here's an issue that's been talked about for weeks in the advertisement by the McCain campaign, by his running mate, Governor Palin, whacking the Democratic nominee time and time again for his association in the 1990s with Bill Ayers. Here it is. Perhaps we can grasp the meaning of this debate at this point.
Real quick. Mr. Ayers, I don't care about an old washed-up terrorist, but as Senator Clinton said in her debates with you, we need to know the full extent of that relationship.
And in fact, Mr. Ayers has become the centerpiece of Senator McCain's campaign over the last 2 or 3 weeks. This has been their primary focus. So let's get the record straight. Bill Ayers is a professor of education in Chicago. Mr. Ayers is not involved in my campaign. He has never been involved in this campaign, and he will not advise me in the White House. So that's Mr. Ayers.
Let's take a look at here. And along the same lines, here's an exchange over the tone of recent McCain rallies.
I mean, if we want to talk about Congressman Lewis, who is an American hero, he, unprompted by my campaign, without my campaign's awareness, made a statement that he was troubled with what he was hearing at some of the rallies that your running mate was holding, in which all the public reports indicated were shouting, when my name came up, things like terrorist and kill him, and that your running mate didn't mention, didn't stop, didn't say, hold on a second, that's kind of out of line.
Let me just say categorically, I'm proud of the people that come to our rallies. Whenever you get a large rally of 10, 15, 20,000 people, you're going to have some fringe peoples. You know that, and we've always said that that's not appropriate.
Some fringe people.
You know, you can't.
Well, who wins that debate? Fringe people when they're yelling, "Take off his head," etc., like that. What do you mean?
You can't defend people who are shouting "kill him" when Barack Obama's name comes up. You just can't do it. And by the way, for all the criticism that Congressman Lewis is taking, he absolutely succeeded. Congressman Lewis said to John McCain, basically, don't you play the race card, don't you bring up Jeremiah Wright, and that is the one place that John McCain did not go tonight.
He didn't bring it up.
He did not bring it up.
Because that kind of talk led to the church burnings back in the 60s.
That's the way. He couldn't go there, and he didn't. I thought it was interesting. Well, we knew in advance that he wouldn't do that. He just wouldn't. He wouldn't.
So, so Congressman Lewis achieved his purpose. The Obama campaign achieved their purpose.
Well, it's not because of Lewis. It's because McCain doesn't dare touch that
one of the people yelling at one of the rallies was the governor of Alaska, who yelled out he's been pounding around with terrorists. And he is responsible for what she says. Yeah. And she's been the one leading the chorus that there's some lack of patriotism on the part of Barack Obama. That's who's been doing it.
I thought that Obama was very skillful, though, when asked about whether she was qualified, to basically say nice things about her without, in the end, saying whether she was in fact qualified.
Well, they all skirted around that, baby. Let's take a look here in exchange. I quote this. I think there's going to be a hot debate here among pro-choice circles. Here's something that they both were talking about abortion, and then I think John McCain said something that's going to be troubling for those pro-choice voters out there.
With respect to partial birth abortion, I am completely supportive of a ban on late-term abortions, partial birth or otherwise, as long as there's an exception for the mother's health and life. And this did not contain that exception.
Just again, the example of the eloquence of Senator Obama. He's the health of the mother. You know, that's been stretched by the pro-abortion movement in America to mean almost anything. That's the extreme pro-abortion position, quote, health.
Well, health. Yeah. Did you see how he did the health in the quote marks? That is going to cause him more trouble, because here we are at a stage where women are being considered to have a good shot at the American presidency, certainly the vice presidency. Women are seen as equal to men in rights and respectability and authority and all the good things in American life. And here he is putting down women who have a health concern along with their doctors for having an abortion. Yeah. You can't impeach the right of a woman to have a health concern. You can't make a joke out of it like this.
It's not an extreme pro-abortion position. It's a position of the United States Supreme Court.
And doctors...
Barack Obama is not way off on the left on this one. He's supporting the law of the land.
Oh, so this is an example of how ideology can send you right over the cliff. McCain was trying to be ideologically perfect for his core constituency, making fun of the health exception. It sounded cruel. I know what he was saying as a matter of argumentation on the floor of the Senate or when he's talking to a pro-life group. When you say that in public before a bunch of undecided voters, it sounds cruel. It just doesn't sound
One of the issues of this campaign is, and I've been part of it, is getting greater sensitivity to women and their rights and their authority in this society that we share, right? And to put that down as something like, would he say health for a male?
Yes.
A male's health concerns.
Well, then you should be glad that he kept mentioning Hillary Clinton all the time.
That's going to be an issue with not just the organized abortion rights issues people, but a lot of voters out there listening right now to this conversation. They're saying, here's 3 guys that noticed it.
Well,
okay, we're demented enough to pick up on it.
John McCain would say, hey, I put a woman on the ticket. It's off the table.
But the fact is that Obama's got all those voters
We're going to hear a lot about this in the pages of the newspapers tomorrow and the days ahead. I think he's going to have to modify what he said about that. Anyway, Roger Simon, thank you. Howard Feynman. Coming up, we're going to go to the spin room. Boy, I hate that name. To hear, the spin from both sides, and we may get some truth. You're watching Hardball, Midnight Edition from Hofstra University, only on MSNBC.
I don't mind being attacked for the next 3 weeks. What the American people can't afford, though, is 4 more years of failed economic policies. And what they deserve over the next 4 weeks is that we talk about what's most pressing to them.
Welcome back to Hardball, live from Hofstra University for the 3rd and final presidential debate. U.S. Congressman Peter King represents a constituency from very close by here. He's a state co-chair of the McCain campaign. He's in the spin room now. Actually, he's right here with me. Let me ask you this. Do you ever hear this Joe the Plumber guy? We look at the montage now of all the Joe the Plumber references tonight. What an amazing introduction of this personality. He's going to be on Saturday Night Live, I'll bet you. We'll have it in a minute here. Joe the Plumber, do you think this stuff works coming off of these offstage iconic people?
Yeah, I think it helps to put a human face on issues. I think what John McCain was doing was showing that not everyone that gets the benefit of a tax cut is a rich guy living on Park Avenue. It could be the hardworking ethnic who's worked his way up, who's put some money together, and is trying to expand his firm. And then people like you and Barack Obama come along and say they should give.
I'm one of those guys. I was thinking of the Italian guy in Moonstruck. It was the plumber, that had all the money, lived in the beautiful brownstone. He lived better than the professor.
No, I think it is. I mean, listen, you can overdo something. I thought the important thing tonight was to put a human face on an issue, and certainly Barack Obama picked up on it, and Joe the Plumber became a focal point of the debate. But I think it does give John McCain something to work with for the next 20 days to show that the tax cuts, the guys we're trying to help, are the hardworking ethnic guys.
Let's take a look. Let's go. Here's a discussion of this new figure in American life, Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber. Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber. We're talking about Joe the Plumber. Joe, you're rich. Congratulations. Now, Joe, you're rich. Congratulations.
That includes you, Joe.
All right. I want, Joe, you to do the job.
And I'm happy to talk to you, Joe, too, if you're out there.
I worked for Tip O'Neill, as you know, liked him all those years. They used to talk about this guy from the old Cambridge neighborhood, Joe the Cobbler. I go to Tip O'Neill's funeral. I'm one of the pallbearers, and the guy comes up to me in the pew and says, "Hi, I'm Joe the Cobbler." I mean, this guy is like a character out of I don't know, one of these old. I was thinking of a Beowulf or something. Joe, these characters. I don't have a last name. My name is Joe the
Plumber.
Let me ask you this about: do you think your guy had the right mood tonight? I got the feeling he looked a little unhappy. It seems like this other guy drives him crazy. He is casual, calm, debonair. He almost dances past him, and this guy tries to land a punch him, and the guy just smiles and says, "Let me explain that." It drives him crazy. No, and John McCain looked angry tonight.
No, I thought John McCain looked tough and strong, which is what a leader was supposed to be. He stayed on offense. He kept Obama on his heels, and he dominated the fight. I think.
Why does he keep losing every poll? We've watched CBS, CNN. God, Fox poll tonight Fox had the Republicans going down tonight. What do we make of that?
The real poll is on Election Day. I think what John McCain did was set the tone for the next 20 days of the campaign. He stayed on offense. He kept Obama off his game. I think Senator Obama is probably making the mistake of trying to sit on a lead.
Yeah, yes.
And you do that, and suddenly the clock runs out on you. You don't get the immediate impact of what happened. But I think what happened tonight is the tone shifted, momentum shifted, and it's still.
Well, is there enough time in that clock for John McCain to turn this election on? The New York Times today reported a 14-point spread right now for Barack. 14 points is a hell of a lead in a presidential election.
Also Rasmussen had 5, and also Senator Obama has never been able to close the deal. Against Hillary Clinton, he had big leads.
Rasmussen's a Republican poll, right?
Oh, well, listen, MSNBC.
Well, New York Times, do you think you don't trust New York Times? The average of all the polls...
I don't trust the New York Times at all.
The average polls are 8 to 9. Okay, let's agree on that.
Okay, let's say 8 points. Let's say 8 points.
All right.
The race would narrow anyway down to 5 or 6. You get a 5-point race over 3 weeks, and the guy's sitting on his lead. He can lose the race. Ask Tom Dewey.
Okay, thank you. But what did you think of the fact the Republicans just gave up on Wisconsin and Maine today?
I don't think they should give up. I think they're making a mistake. I think they shouldn't have even given up on Michigan. I think states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are the type of voters they're going to win, and I think they made a mistake.
God, it's like the old British Empire. They keep losing outposts.
Now you put me in the position of British Empire. Of all the things, Chris, of all the things.
I mean, we lose America, then we use Ireland. What the hell kind of an empire is this thing?
Bottom line is, I think it's going to end up being a 4 or 5 point race going into the last week to 10 days. Obama keeps sitting on the lead. McCain can run past him, and Joe the Plumber will be the next Secretary of Labor.
Peter King is not only a congressman, a man respected by the constituencies in Long Island, but he is a great Irish-American writer as well, which how can you fight with that? Peter King, thank you. Let's go right down to Robert Gibbs. He's senior advisor for the Obama campaign. Your guy, is he sitting on a lead? Is this the old Dean Smith four-corner offense where you move the ball around but you don't take the shot?
Absolutely not. I think if you saw tonight's debate, you saw he took the shot. That's why, as you mentioned, poll after poll showed him winning this debate. As you said, if even
Fox
what
was his best shot tonight? What did he say tonight?
Look, I think he
say?
dominated on the issues of on the economy, I think on health care, looking at that small business owner and saying he's going to get help under an Obama administration to provide health care for his employees. He's going to get a tax credit for creating jobs. That's the kind of positive leadership we need in this country to get the economy moving again.
Well, you got all the polls tonight, but you didn't get Joe the Plumber. He went to bed tonight a McCain supporter. We just got the word. He said, I'm with McCain, I'm going to sleep. So I guess you didn't sell him. Are you going to get up in the morning and work on Joe the Plumber a little bit? You're going to work the guy in the morning?
Joe the Plumber was with McCain when Barack knocked on his door on Sunday. So I'm not altogether surprised we didn't change Joe the Plumber's mind. But I think millions of independent voters that saw this debate tonight, you've seen it in these polls, thought Barack Obama was more commanding, that he has the judgment and the experience to lead this country. We're not going to sit on any lead, Chris. We're not going to take anything for granted. We're going to work hard every single day for the next 3 weeks to bring change to the White House.
Let me ask you about Bill Ayers. Do you think this is the last we'll hear of him? Has he been replaced by Joe the Plumber? Are we going to hear about it? Seemed like your guy was quite easy going about Joe. He talked all about his relationship. He didn't quite come clean on the role that Bill Ayers played in his race for state office, though, did he? Didn't he have a fundraiser for him in his living room or something? Well, what did he do?
No, he
what
didn't.
Exactly did Bill Ayers do? Well, what did he do positively for your candidate?
Well, look,
when he went for lower office.
I think what you heard Barack Obama do tonight was what you heard him say was what he was characterized the relationship. That's what we've talked about for the last 2 weeks.
He had a fundraiser for him, did he? Did he have a fundraiser for your candidate or not?
No, he did not have a fundraiser for a candidate, like I said 10 seconds ago. He didn't have a fundraiser.
Well, what is this thing about the launching of his campaign in his living room?
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Again, that's another myth propagated by the McCain campaign that's been debunked by people both in the Chicago media and in the national media. But I think what you saw tonight is a campaign in Senator McCain's that's worried about, and all it wants to do is focus on negative personal attacks. I think Senator McCain looked angry throughout this debate. He didn't look in command of these issues, and I think that's why Barack Obama came out the winner tonight.
Do you think that Senator McCain made a mistake today by belittling the health concern women have in terms of abortion rights?
Absolutely. I mean, look, for a lot of women, facing a life or a health decision in a pregnancy is a tall order. It's a great moral decision to make, and I think for him to belittle the concerns of women like that was demeaning. And I think women will see that. We'll see that in the polling. We'll see that in the focus groups that show John McCain just doesn't understand what they're going through on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, would you like to have another debate with John McCain, or is this it? Would you like to have another one?
No, I think we feel pretty good about the 4 debates that John McCain and that Barack Obama and Joe Biden had. Quite frankly, I think we won all 4 of those debates, and now it's off to talk directly to the American people about what we're going to do to get this economy moving again and bring change to the White House.
Robert Gibbs, thanks for joining us. Up next, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow is going to join us. She's, of course, the host of the Rachel Maddow Show. She's going to give us her thought. In fact, her take on tonight's debate. You're watching Hardball on debate night, only on MSNBC. So much fun.
Nobody likes taxes. I would prefer that none of us had to pay taxes, including myself. But ultimately, we've got to pay for the core investments that make this economy strong, and somebody's got to do it.
Nobody likes taxes. Let's not raise anybody's taxes.
Well, I don't mind paying a little more. The notion that I voted for a tax increase for people making $42,000 a year has been disputed by everybody who's looked at this claim that Senator McCain keeps on making. Even Fox News disputes it. And that doesn't happen very often when it comes to accusations about me.
Even Fox News. Welcome back to Hardball. Rachel Maddow is the host of MSNBC's newest and coolest show. Who writes this stuff? The Rachel Maddow Show, which airs every night at 9 p.m. Did you write this intro for me? She joins us now from 30 Rock. Rachel, you and I both spotted the same problem area, I think we can call it, for John McCain tonight. Talking in a belittling fashion about the health factor in abortion rights. Your thoughts?
It was as if he was saying, what is this health of the mother? Health of the mother. This is something that the pro-abortion movement has expanded to mean anything. That could mean anything. Dismissive, snide, insensitive, and to women, I think on both sides of the abortion rights debate, it's going to come across as, I think, as demeaning and mean-spirited. I think that is not going to serve him well. I don't know if the Obama campaign is going to pounce on it and choose to use it, but I think the women's groups certainly will, and I don't think he can run that far from it. He went on about it at length.
Yeah, Cecile Richards of NARAL is already going after it. And I noticed it, too. Let's take a look now at that exchange we're talking about, Rachel and I. Here it is from tonight's debate.
With respect to partial birth abortion, I am completely supportive of a ban on late-term abortions, partial birth or otherwise, as long as there's an exception for the mother's health and life. And this did not contain that exception.
Just again, the example of the eloquence of Senator Obama. He's health of the mother. You know, that's been stretched by the pro-abortion movement in America to mean almost anything. That's the extreme pro-abortion position, quote, health.
It's worse watching
Rachel,
it now.
It just seems to me, yeah. Rachel, if you make a joke out of the word health, you belittle its relevance. And it's also, if you don't have that word in as part of the Roe v. Wade court decision, what do you have? You have to have it in there. It must be there, it seems to me. And for him to belittle the term because maybe in some case somewhere it was abused, it puts him in a pretty weak position. I agree with you.
I think that's right, and I think that it's similar, actually, to the way he messed up the Acorn attack tonight. He was, if you were already with John McCain on Acorn, or if you're already with him on his side of the abortion debate, then maybe you knew what he was referencing, and that felt like he was sort of tossing you a bone. Maybe it felt like he was saying something that he needed to say to energize those people who already agree with him. But if you didn't already agree with him, those things came across as either, in the case of Acorn, something that didn't make very much sense, and in the abortion issue, on something that came across as very insensitive. He just didn't pace his pitches right.
Do you have a sense that this just isn't John McCain's time? I mean to say that the environment, the economic environment we're in right now, and the personality advantage that Barack enjoys makes it seems like almost impossible for him to win these polls on who wins these debates.
Well, I think
just the basic realities of what's around him, no matter what he does. If we had 50 of these debates, I predict we'd get the same results in terms of the polling from all the organizations that poll.
I think that campaigning matters. I think that the way that you conduct yourself politically matters. I think that, yes, it's true that the economic factors may be shifting the playing field away, and George Bush's approval ratings may be shifting the playing field a certain way, but you still get out there on the field and play. And John McCain did not say the phrase middle class again tonight. That means he went 0 for 3 in 3 debates. He never once used the phrase middle class, but yet he did say acorn 3 times, said Bill Ayers 6 times. He whiffed the acorn attack. He whiffed the Bill Ayers attack. Obama came back to him on that with a, frankly, very unsurprising result, and McCain then angrily retorted by saying, I've always repudiated every offensive, out-of-line thing any Republican has said in this campaign, leaving out there hanging the fact that his running mate has said that Barack Obama pals around with terrorists. John McCain doesn't have to be losing this bad. It's not the country that's doing to him. He's running a horrible campaign.
You know, Hillary Clinton said something really good up in Scranton this Sunday. I happened to be up there covering it, and she said, stop asking yourself, who are you for, and ask yourself, who's for you? I think that's a pretty good way of putting it. And I think the undecided voters at the end are going to say, who's looking out for me? Anyway, thank you very much, Rachel Maddow, my colleague. Up next, Nora O'Donnell and our focus group of voters out in Kansas City. Who do they think won tonight's debate? I can't wait to hear more from that. We'll be right back. You're watching Hardball live from Hofstra, only on MSNBC.
I would have, first of all, across-the-board spending freeze, okay? That some people say that's a hatchet, and then I would get out a scalpel.
From Hofstra University right now. By the way, a couple personal notes. First of all, to Nancy Reagan, we're wishing it well. You had a fall. I hope to get out and see you in a couple weeks out there. Nancy, get up and go again. You're so great. And another personal note, the Phillies are in the World Series, okay? I know I'm out here in Mets country. The Phillies are in. First time in 15 years. Now to find out what some voters thought about tonight's debate, we assembled a focus group of voters out in Kansas City, Missouri. MSNBC's Nora O'Donnell is with that group right now, and she joins us. Nora, what do you got?
Chris, it has been such a fascinating night, and we came here, of course, to Missouri because this is the most accurate bellwether in the country. In case you don't know, in the Show Me State, voters here have chosen the president every time for the past 100 years except for one election. I heard you guys talking about what many of you thought was John McCain's best moment, was when he tried to separate himself from President Bush. Well, he delivered it well, but he failed to convince many of the voters here. Let's play that soundbite of John McCain first.
Senator Obama, I am not President Bush. If you wanted to run against President Bush, you should have run 4 years ago.
There it is. Mark, you actually like that. You're a Republican.
Yes, I thought it was one of the better statements to distance himself from the current presidency, yes.
But Annie, you're a Republican. We saw the line dip a bit with Republicans. Why didn't you like it?
I just thought it was an irrelevant comment on his part. Unnecessary, I guess is a better word. Cheap shot, first of the night.
All right, Mandy, you're a first-time voter and independent. What did you think of McCain trying to separate himself from President Bush, saying you should have run against Bush 4 years ago if you wanted to run against Bush?
I just felt that it came off really rude, and I mean, almost, it was just unnecessary.
All right, Chris, another interesting soundbite, of course, is Obama. A lot of talk about negative attacks and where this country is headed, whether there's enough focus on the economy. Obama tonight essentially reflected the polls that the country is headed in the wrong direction. Let's show this. Watch the numbers. See how well he does among independents and Republicans.
The American people have become so cynical about our politics because all they see is a tit for tat and back and forth. And what they want is the ability to just focus on some really big challenges that we face right now. And that's what I have been trying to focus on this entire campaign.
Did you see that, Chris? That red line went up. Also among Democrats and independents. Chris, you're a Democrat. Why did you like that?
I think it epitomized what Senator Obama's been doing during these debates. He's been focusing on the big issues. McCain has been trying to attack him with petty things, in my opinion, and he stayed on the big picture. How do we get things done?
Nick?
I completely agree. I think that Obama stuck to it. McCain was still trying to attack him, but Obama stuck to it, which the big issue for me was the economy.
And you're a Republican,
yeah,
and a first-time voter, and you liked Obama on that. Really interesting. Let's play, too, you know, Chris, we watched about the attacks, and when McCain brought up William Ayers, which Obama had said, say it to my face. Well, McCain brought it up in this debate. The attacks did not play well throughout this debate among independents and even some Republicans. Let's play that.
And you launched your political campaign in Mr. Ayer's living room.
That's absolutely not true.
And the facts are facts, and records are records.
That's not the
and
fact.
it's not the fact. It's not the fact that Senator Obama chose to associate with a guy who, in 2001, said that he wished he'd bomb more, and he had a long association with him. It's the fact that all of the details need to be known about Senator Obama's relationship with them and with Acorn, and the American people will make a judgment.
Really interesting. You see those numbers flatline, and even the Republican number dip a little bit into negative territory. Frank, your thoughts?
Well, they're both driving me to drink.
And why is that?
Well, they're both so negative that it's wrong. They need to get more positive and talk about the issues.
And Mark, do you agree with that? Mark, do you agree with that?
I think they spent way too much time on debating on the styling and the stance that they were taking with one another and not getting to the point enough.
And then finally, we have to do a show of hands here. We'll do a thumbs up or thumbs down, because it was really interesting, Chris, on Joe the Plumber. Thumbs up if you thought it was a good idea to talk about Joe the Plumber, or thumbs down, Joe the Plumber. Look at this, near universal thumbs down. The Republicans, the independents, they thought Joe the Plumber was dumb. They didn't like it, and they didn't think McCain delivered sort of the line well. Really interesting, Chris. And then finally, I know you'll like this. Among the independents, we polled them coming in, the independents were slightly more comfortable with McCain as president. But post-debate, the independents were much more comfortable with Obama as president and less comfortable with McCain. That's what changed tonight. Chris?
Okay, Nora, I love that stuff. Thank you, Nora O'Donnell. Let's bring in MSNBC political analyst Pat Buchanan and Eugene Robinson. Well, Pat, it looks like Joe the Plumber didn't do as well as Joe's six-pack tonight. Joe's six-pack seems to be still a popular reference point by Governor Palin out there.
Right, well, it looks like a pretty sour focus group to me out there in Kansas City, I'll say that. They didn't like anything or anybody. I think what this shows, though, Chris, and the poll show, I think it is a real reality that, what is it, over 92% of the country now thinks we're on the wrong course. The economy's gone, I mean, the market goes down 733 points. I think it's very, very tough when McCain, who's got to go on the offensive and has to be aggressive, he can't sit there and be laid back. I think he's got almost an impossible hill to climb in these debates. As I said earlier, I do think he won the debates on points. I think old Barack Obama, he is pedaling around the ring. He doesn't even want to trade punches, and it's working for him.
Gene, it does seem, though, that every time you go into a town and stay there for 2 days before an election, all you see are negative ads aimed at turning the undecided voters. And then you see a focus group like Nora just had there, and every one of them seems to dislike negative politics. And yet we all know that the pros know that negative ads work. What gives here? Why do all these people in focus groups say they don't like negative politics, but all the pros say it works? What's up here?
Well, you know, it's a good question. I think you could argue that it's not working very well this year. This is an unusual election year. It has been since January in the Iowa caucuses, and we get surprised, you know, week by week and month by month. So this, I guess, could be seen as another surprise. It's tried and true technique. Doesn't seem to be gaining as much traction this year as it otherwise might. Clearly, independent voters don't like conflict, and they don't like partisanship. Yeah. They're independent. And we know that from surveys. And so I think you could have 50 of these debates or 100 of these debates, and everyone would probably ratchet up Barack Obama a little bit in the polls and ratchet John McCain down a little bit because of their very different approaches to the debates. Obama didn't engage, and I think that wins him points when he insists on talking about the economy or some other issue rather than getting involved in the clinch with John McCain.
You know, Chris, I think
Pat, you think these people would rather be sitting in a quiet room with no one else in the room but themselves listening to classical music rather than involved in discussing this campaign with anybody. I mean, they don't like any conflict. I mean, welcome to America. I mean, what do they want?
Right. But you know, I just think I think they want to get rid of who's in Washington. Chris, consider this.
That's
the
right.
Pelosi-Reed Congress has the lowest approval rating in history. It's at 10%. She's considered a San Francisco liberal by enormous numbers of people, yet their numbers are going to be enhanced enormously. The Congress is going to be moved to the left, whereas the country is center-right, as you can tell by the fact Obama's been moving to the center as fast as he could.
Right.
But here's the difference, though, Pat.
3 or 4 wrenches in the machinery there, Pat. But the fact is, as you pointed out, Pat, the latest polling shows that in our polling at NBC, there's a 13-point advantage of the Democrats doing well in the congressional races over the Republicans.
I know they are. Look, they're going to get the benefit of this, despite the fact that Congress is being rejected by the country as a whole. I mean, only 10% approve of it.
But Pat, as you well know, people don't like Congress as a whole. They like their own congressman or congresswoman. So it's difficult to poll nationally on Congress and make it meaningful. But here's what I think people heard. In addition to demeanor and the fact that Obama presents himself so well in these debates, and McCain looks a little grouchy and he's older and everything. But aside from that, people heard Democratic ideas and they heard Republican ideas. And I think John McCain did all but called himself a maverick. He didn't use the word, but he certainly described himself as one. Yet his core economic ideas, certainly, and economies of what everybody's thinking about right now, are Republican ideas. People heard Obama talking like a Democrat. And I think this is a year, it certainly could be a year when the pendulum is swifting back, is drifting back in the Democratic direction, and there may not be much that John McCain can do about that.
I tend to agree with that. I really do. I think that there may not be much McCain can do, certainly in the debates. I think it's got to close up to about 6. It's got to close up and look like there's some momentum in McCain's direction for him to get traction and win this thing if he's got a chance.
Pat Buchanan, Eugene Robinson, gentlemen, thank you. Up next, much more from Hofstra University, our coverage of the third and final presidential debate between Barack Obama and John McCain continues. This is Hardball.
It took me years to build good credit, but only a few.
Mr. Harris, I don't care about an old washed-up terrorist, but as Senator Clinton said in her debates with you, we need to know the full extent of that relationship.
Mr. Ayers is not involved in my campaign. He has never been involved in this campaign, and he will not advise me in the White House. So that's Mr. Ayers.
We're back from Hofstra University side of the third and final debate, presidential debate. With me is Joan Walsh, my friend from Salon, and John Howman from New York Magazine. By the way, there's Joan Walsh's daughter over there, Nora, right on the hot end. She's a freshman at Fordham. Let's go to this question. So, to use the lingo of Rahm Emanuel, who's highly partisan, we just watched a grumpy old man talk about a washed-up terrorist. I mean, these lines are being thrown around here pretty rough.
Yeah, they're pretty rough. My favorite part was when he started complaining about how he was trying to watch the Arizona Cardinals football game, and then he kept getting interrupted by these negative ads about his health care plan. I mean, he tried early on in the debate to be less grumpy. He'd been listening to Rahm, but he couldn't help himself. And the air quotes around health of the mother will haunt him the rest of his career.
They will. Why?
They really, because it was sneering, it was sarcastic, it was belittling this issue, which is a moral issue, which is a horrible issue for so many families.
And by the way, the word health has to be in the law. It has to be in the interpretation. Because if it isn't there, think of what it means if it's not in there.
Right.
And you know, and it's funny. It's like we've had 4.5 hours now of these debates. And it finally occurred to me at the end that what McCain has been in this election is the Al Gore, in a weird, kind of like a reverse polarity way, right? He's the guy who totally lost all 3 debates on affect. I mean, so much
and probably would lose 100 of them.
So much of these things are about the visual, about the body language, about what comes across. Tonight, the split screen just killed John McCain. You know, the sneers and the blinks and the winks and the twitches, all that stuff just made him look so irascible. Even when he wasn't sounding grumpy, he looked terrible.
Here's the pathos. Even if he heard all this ahead of time,
and
there's nothing he could do about it.
Right.
He heard it all.
He's going to be grumpy.
We've all been saying the same things for all three
and
debates.
At some point, they're not actors. You give away your feelings. They're not professional actors out there. Although Barack is pretty close to being a skilled performer. I mean, I think if he was really, really furious at his opponent, you wouldn't see it.
Right. There was only one moment where Obama looked actually peevish for a moment when you saw the split screen where Obama looked really peevish. But I thought at that moment, a half an hour in, when McCain kind of erupted and sort of let loose with every negative charge that he's wanted to let loose with throughout the whole campaign, it broke down into kind of incoherence. It was like kind of connect the dots. You couldn't actually parse the sentences into English.
We'll be right back with Joan and John. You're watching Hardball from Hofstra, the scene of the event tonight. You know, and John, two of the most interesting people to ever appear on this show. Could we have some silence, please? Can we have some silence? Okay. Biggest thought tonight. Your biggest thought.
My biggest thought
about this end of this campaign. It looks like the end of the TV part of the campaign.
John McCain has misjudged the mood of the American people from start to finish. He couldn't get it right, and he's going to lose, I think.
So the tone is optimism, hope, rather than grumpiness.
Rather than grumpiness, not anger.
And seriousness about issues. I mean, I thought that throughout this debate tonight, you noticed, again, it's happened all throughout. Obama, at his most boring to us, the moments when he seems to be flattest, you see those dial groups, they go through the ceiling. People want to hear people talking right now at this moment in the country about issues and not about their opponents.
Okay. Night after night after night. And maybe they decided so they can get on these shows, I think.
Right.
You know, I want to get on the focus group. And they get in the focus group, they say, I'm still undecided. Well, when are you going to freaking make up your mind? Okay.
In general,
they're not moved by them. They're moved by it because John McCain was watching the same. And the other guy, well, perhaps a little. At 5.
On fallout from the final debate.